So I'm here with some of the Make Music Your Life team because it's a very special day today. Did you know that January the 28th is World Thank a Plugin Developer Day? I didn't know that until my wife came in and informed me of it this morning. So I thought what we would do is we would record a special thank you to our favourite plugin developers. So we have, hang on, wrong way around, Tim, Alex up there, and Joanie over here. And we are, even though we do talk about the music production industrial complex and how this beast is causing us to spend our money on things that we don't need, of which the plugin development community is a part. We at Make Music Your Life are also a part of the music production industrial complex as well. And we recognise that none of these people who are part of this beast are actually out to get us. But it's on us to avoid the conglomeration of these plugins and bright, shiny things in order to make the most music we can. And what's actually interesting is we just had a little conversation before, and out of the four of us, we're all in very different situations in our relationship to plugins. And hilariously, the one who's the worst in terms of number of plugins owned is this one here. It's me. So I thought what we'd do is we would have a bit of fun and say thank you to the wonderful people who make our lives so much easier and who do actually build tools that enable us to make much better music, and just also maybe give a bit of information about how to avoid it turning into an addiction of just buying stuff for its own sake as well. Because I think it's fair to say there's definitely two people here who are not addicted in any way, shape or form. And maybe one and a half who are, and who, well, one who's a recovering addict, and another, I don't know quite where he'd put himself. Anyway, so let's start with the saint of not being addicted to buying plugins. I think, and that has to be Joanie takes the prize, because what is your favorite plugin, and why is it your favorite plugin, and also how is it that you have chosen this plugin when there are so many bright and shiny things out there?
My favorite plugin is Buffer Override by Destroy FX. It's an oldie and a goodie, and they finally just updated it so I could re-download it and use it again. And it's a buffer override, and it makes your music stuttery, glitchy, makes beats. You just have to play with it. It's very simple, and it's completely free. And one of the reasons why I haven't been able to go overboard with plugins is because I'm doing all my production on a very old 2011 iMac Mini computer. So, yeah.
Which is crazy. And when you say you do your production, this is what you do for a living too, isn't it?
This is my work computer. So I create radio broadcasting audio on a really old computer, and it gets broadcast all over the US. So it doesn't matter what kind of gear you have, how old it is, you just have to do it.
Right, exactly. So Joanie literally is making music her life and doing it on a 2011, what was it? iMac Mini. Which I don't know whether that's wonderful or idiotic, but it's a thing. I actually think it's wonderful because it just shows you what you can do on very little gear. Because at the end of the day, I love new shiny things. That's why I can talk about it so much, and that's why I've got such a bee in my bonnet about it. Is because I am a victim of the music production industrial complex. We'll get onto that in a second. But and it just reminds me when I was you know me, probably not that often speechless. I was speechless when Joanie told me what she made music on. It was a couple of weeks ago now, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Buffer Override, Destroy Effects, it's free, it makes things go glitchy, and there's recently a new update of it. So thank you, Destroy Effects, for making the stuff that you do and all the hard work you put into it, particularly as you do it for free. So yeah, everyone go to Destroy Effects right now and send them some money as well. Buy them a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever it is their particular poison is. Brilliant. Okay, so now on to the almost as saintly, but not quite, almost as saintly Tim over here on my whatever way that is. It's my right, but it might look like my left. Anyway, so Tim, what's your relationship with these wonderful things that we call plugins?
It's a bit mixed. I came from a world where I use guitar pedals, so I was really into guitar pedals, and when I moved over to making music on my computer, I just didn't really quite adapt to it, and I just felt like it was kind of weird to have my guitar go through plugins and then hear the sound back and then not being able to tweak the knobs. So I've always been like into
Hardware.
guitar pedals, yeah, hardware kind of stuff, and it just feels more natural for me. So I've just never really bought that many plugins, but the times that I did buy a plugin was I saw a video from Andrew Huang, and he was talking about 808s because I wanted to make more hip hop trap kind of music, and so I was like, well, I don't have really great 808 stuff, and I don't know how to tune and sound design and all this stuff, and like I didn't even understand
Sound
what
design.
like, attack and
Yeah, no, no. I mean, funny with an 808, there's actually very little sound design you can do within the machine. It would come afterwards with what you put it through. But anyway, yeah. Go on,
yeah. And I mean, this was when I was just starting out, so I had like
course, yeah.
no knowledge about like sound design and stuff, and I was still learning about synthesis, like the basics of synthesis. So I bought this Sublab plugin that I really like, but after that, I haven't purchased anything else until recently. I think Black Friday, I purchased my favorite plugin, which is the Neuro DSP guitar Poi Wang guitar plugin, and I just love that thing. Like the tone is so amazing on it, and it just like.
But is it the kind of tone that you can put in your coffee and drink?
Yes,
It makes that kind of tone.
It's so tasty and mellow, and it has that the bean kind of taste. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. It's just, oh yeah, no, I love that kind of tone on guitars. Yeah, okay.
Once you strum a chord, it's like coffee in my mouth.
Excellent. So that's Neuro DSP, and it's a guitar tone plugin. Presumably, you could put it on anything though, because
it's a simulator. It's an amp simulator. So
okay, right. So it's an amp and okay, brilliant, excellent. And so you've only ever bought 2 plugins. Everything else is just within what's the DAW that you use? Ableton, is it?
Ableton.
Yeah. Okay. So and that's absolutely fantastic. Well done, Tim. You put someone like me to shame. So thank you, Neuro DSP and Corey Huang. And then on to Alex, who's probably not quite as devilish as I am. Hasn't sort of entered the 7th ring of hell of plugin buying, but maybe the 3rd or 4th ring. I'm not sure. Anyway, so where are you at with this addiction? I mean, let's bear in mind you're the guy who has how many guitars?
Yeah, that's more an addiction than plugins. I'll safely say that.
So I'm not sure which is worse. So I suspect the guitars might be a bit more expensive in general. But yeah, so yeah.
Yes, in general.
What's your situation with plugins?
Yeah, with plugins, I do have quite a few, and I have splurged on a few plugins here and there, but I've never been too sucked in to the next plugin, the next big thing. And kind of like Tim, I came from guitar pedals and hardware, like amps and playing instruments. And when I went to school for audio engineering, then I started to get more into the production and the mixing and the mastering. So from there, that's when I started going for, Fab Filter's L1, L2 limiter, and like the Waves compressors, and really understanding the different compressors. So I have a plethora of options, but not excessive amount that it's like I pretty much use most of the plugins I have. but I've dipped my toes in for sure.
And what would you say your like favorite plugin? I mean, which plugin developer would you like to thank more than any other?
Absolutely. I'm going to thank TuneTrack, and they've developed so many different software instruments, but most recently, I believe it's Superior Drummer 3, which is basically a multi-sampled drum kit, but many different rooms, many different microphones, many different drums, all sorts. And growing up, I've always loved the sound of drums on my favorite records. And they really give some character to a track, as well as just the nuance of a percussion instrument. And when I was recording bands and mixing bands, sometimes you have to throw in sample replacement for a poorly mic'd drum kit. And just the sample sounds so unreal. And with my own productions, I can't get enough of it. So thank you, TuneTrack.
Right, there you go. Okay, so now on to the lost case, the lost cause, the man who has more plugins than there are stars in the universe, Mike Monday. So I'm one of those people who I just, if there's a bundle, I not always, so I don't bought all of them, but you know, if there's a bundle, I will just buy it. Often I would just subscribe to it for a spell, and then I'll just to find out, because when I came back to making music, when was it? It was in 2018. So I had 10 years off while I was focused on coaching musicians. So when I came back to making music, it was like I could not believe how things had come on. When I was young, so when I was last making music before I stopped, you couldn't put too many plugins on a sound because it degraded the quality of the sound. So that is now, that can happen, but if you know what you're doing, that's no longer the case. Like if you have really high quality plugins, then actually, if you do a little with each one, it actually can do the opposite. If you know what you're doing and you're careful and you use the right things at the right time. Anyway, so I was just totally blown away by it and just got I was like, I wanted to know what it was that I could do. So when I first came back to making music, I did try a lot of things out. Now, I'm kind of joking about how I've entered the 7th ring of hell, because I don't actually use very many anymore. And I've stopped subscribing to a lot of the bundles that I did get because I've worked out, I don't know everything there is, but I don't need to know everything there is. I have a sense of what works for me. And as you can see behind me, all of this stuff, this is my kind of in the box setup for when I'm playing live. And the blue ones are plugins. But actually, there's only 3 plugin manufacturers in this little collection. This is my actual setup right now. Ooh, what's going on? It's weird. Yeah, so and they are, number 1, Gullfoss, and I want to thank them the most because, actually, no, I lie. There is one cheeky little plugin over here which isn't from Gullfoss or the other 2. I'll give them an honorable mention at the end, but the one I really, really want to highlight is Gullfoss, because I just love their... Where's it gone? It's disappeared. Let's try this one. Here it is. I need to drag it over onto my other screen. Here you go. So this is their latest plugin called Tube, which is tube and tape. Now, I don't know whether they actually sound like tube and tape, because I have actually owned various different tape machines, but I've never owned a tube. I have tubes, but not the kind of
really
tubes
helps
which
your
you make.
tone, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, tubes, pasta, penne. I have pasta, but I've never actually owned any audio type tubes. So yeah, God, goodness knows whether they actually sound real or not. I don't care. Basically, it's a really great plugin for putting things through to just either warm things up or compress a bit, because in a sense, saturation is compression, or and also it's also very performable. So I use that all the time. So thank you, Gullfoss, for that. The other one, which I've already done over on my Zentor channel, a number of live streams about, is this Megaverb plugin, which I use as a performance instrument. And then they've got other things too, which are absolutely great. And what I love about Good Hertz is that they take the best of analog, the sort of the sound of analog, but they don't try to make it pretend that it is analog. So it's almost like they've got the idea, and their user interface is just, well, it's just got an aesthetic to it. It's almost like their plugins are art. Right, so they've got an aesthetic to it. It's super clear, very easy to use, and they sound just beautiful. So they're my absolute number one. And as you can see, I mean, most of the stuff I do is through them. The second one is UAD. That's because I've got two UAD interfaces. And the great thing for somebody who is live is that UAD, because they have their own DSP, I can do things which mean that I'm not using the DSP of the computer, which means I can do more with less, and I've got a beast computer as it is, but I wouldn't be able to do the things that I do. So, UAD, it's quite expensive, but once you've sort of got it, you've got it. And they sound great. Honorable mention, not actually an honorable mention, goes to FabFilter. In this particular setup, I'm only actually using the gate. That's in order to quieten things down because I've got some guitar pedals over there. And then the one that I forgot about, which is the honorable mention, is Waves Factory. They've got a couple of plugins which are really, really useful. Spectre is an unusual one. It's like a kind of saturation plugin, but like an EQ. I won't go into it. And they've also got a number of other ones which are really useful for the mixing side of things. But really, the one for me is Good Hertz. I'm a massive fan of what they do, how they think about it. And I mean, a lot of what they talk about goes way over my head. You don't need to understand it, but they obviously know what they're doing. And so I just want to say thank you to them. The one thing, though, that I think it's really important to understand, and Joanie, you've been coaching a few people in the Automatic Music Machine program just recently, why don't you explain? And we don't need to sort of mention names or anything like that, so we're not going to, get in trouble that way. But it's like you've been coaching some people in the Automatic Music Machine who seem to have program, and we're helping them through this problem. Who seem to have a particular idea. So can you just finishing up this thank you to plugin developers? Because we can say thank you to them at the same time as saying beware of them at the same time, right? So what is the problem that you've encountered recently with some of the automatic music machinists in how they seem to be seeing the gear or the same is true of hardware as well, but the software.
Yeah, there've been a couple machinists who have decided to try to get the most expensive, latest and greatest gear, outboard gear, in order to make their music. And while that's fantastic and that's fun, it's taking them through the journey of the automatic music machine is having them realize that you don't need the latest and greatest. You can just pull whatever and just start making music. And it's the emotion that comes out from whatever instrument that you're using, which is what creates the magic. So it's amazing watching them realize the simplicity of all that's necessary in order to make music that touches other people. And it's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, it is possible to make beautiful music with terrible equipment. Like, not that you've got terrible equipment, for instance, Joanie, but it's like, that's not the thing that makes the music beautiful. Yes. Again, if you are recording a vocal, the fidelity, and you want it to sound like that vocal, then the fidelity of sound is really important. But if, for instance, in my case, I'm not looking to record a vocal and it sound exactly like my vocal in a particular room, then all I have, I'm sorry, I think it's raining on my tin roof, if you can hear that. So then all I have is a sound file, right? And it doesn't matter how good the recording is, because the recording is the recording, and I can do whatever I want with it. So, and the more that you have, the more that you actually have, I mean, one of the things I often get asked is, how do you overcome the fact that you've got all of this stuff and you don't use it. I'm like, it's not a problem. It's not a problem that I'm not using the stuff that I've bought, because the reason that I subscribed to that and got rid of it, or the reason that I bought this was to see what I wanted to use. And if I don't need to use it, then I don't feel guilty about that, because I needed to try it out in order to know that I didn't need to use it.
Yeah,
Because I think often people think, well, I bought it, so I must use it. And then that creates a situation where you just trying to use stuff which you don't need to use. Yeah. And you can sell it, or you can just not sell it and have it there. Well, that's what I tend to do. I'm just too lazy to sell things. So don't think, first of all, that you need the best gear to make the best music. That quite patently is not the case. Number two, it's okay to buy things and not use them. Right? I mean, ideally, you wouldn't have to buy them. You could just find immediately the thing that you want to use. Yeah? And often, very often, the amount of gear that you have, if you don't remember those things, is going to be inversely proportional. In other words, the more gear you have, the less music you make. Not always, but that can be the case. I mean, realistically, Alex, of all of the things that you have, how much of it do you use all of the time?
That's the thing. There's the tried and true, right? There's once you find the things that really attract you, that really resonate with the sound you're after, it's, I don't know, 15%, 20% of everything you have, right?
Yeah.
At most.
Once again, it's always the way. It's the 80-20 principle. You will use 80%. Yeah, you will use 20% of your stuff 80% of the time. That's the stuff you want to focus on. So it's almost like I've taken the 80-20 principle and just gone, right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to choose the minority of stuff and get really good at using that. Because that's the other thing about multiple things. If you constantly use multiple things, you'll never get good at anything. Yeah. So brilliant. All right, well, it seems that the heavens are telling me I need to stop. Maybe it's because I've been talking about the seventh ring of hell or something. I don't know. But generally, make as much music as you can on as little gear as possible. Avoid the music production industrial complex. But also, on this day, January the 28th, say thank you to those wonderful people who make the gear, the software, that actually making music so much easier as long as you follow the principles that we've outlined in this video. Because, it is wonderful, like, to be able to get the quality of sound out for the amount of money, like free, for instance, that these software developers charge. Is absolutely insane. So just huge gratitude to all of those wonderful people doing this wonderful work. And we will see you again very soon.